quorum, right?
Pardon?
Extra agendas.
There
I-
was a pile
do you
of
need
extra
one?
agendas, I can give you this one.
They're right here.
Oh, I
Sure.
can, I have it on my computer. Make notes on it.
Oh, I should grab these.
Becky and Joy. I think that Joy did ask for an
I
excuse,
believe she did.
Yeah, she is
Yep.
out.
so she's excused.
Alright, we're live, everyone.
You ready?
Okay. I'm ready if you all are.
He said he's ready.
Okay, thank you. I'll call this meeting to order. It is the Bay Oaks Recreational Campus Advisory Board, commonly known as BORCAB. And we are in the Town Council Chambers on Oak Street. It is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024 at 12:02, I believe it is, so. Okay, so our meeting is called to order. Would you all please rise for the pledge to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, let's have a roll call and just start around the room. Becky, we'll start with you.
Hi, I am Becky Guidry. Sorry for being a couple minutes tardy.
You're fine.
Ed Schoonover?
Karen Woodson. Barbara Hill.
Betty Simpson?
John Lear.
Danielle DeBona.
Jeff Hougie.
Okay, and we have an excused absence for Joy Sullivan and also for Jesse Field at this time. So, and our town staff, we have Jeff here and Danielle, so thank you. And our very faithful town liaison, Karen. Thank you for being here, as always. That brings us to item 3, the approval of the minutes. And I believe all of you should have a copy of those,
I
the
actually
August 21st.
Don't have a extra. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Stealing them all.
So I'd ask for a motion for approval of those minutes. When you're ready, take
I
your
actually
time.
did read them from the email, so I'll go ahead and motion to approve those. Becky Guidry.
I'll
Okay,
second Barbara Hill.
motion by Becky and second by Barbara. Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, those pass unanimously. And that brings us to our staff liaison report.
For public comment, but there's none here.
Anyone?
Anybody in the public that wants to talk?
I didn't see any public that was rising,
Yeah.
but that's okay. And the staff liaison report?
Okay, did you want me just to run through it real quick? Okay. Everything's operating as usual and getting some good numbers for being the month of August. It's generally, historically, a really slow month for us, but we had some good numbers regardless. As you can see on the report, our standard hours of operation, even our pickleball was still well attended though, which is pretty impressive for the summer months, historically
Very
speaking.
good.
Our fitness classes were also well attended, so another, big thumbs up for our instructors who draw their own crowd, so they're doing great. Athletics, we've got our indoor volleyball is new this month. It started on the 21st of August. It's free to members, or if you buy a day pass to Bay Oaks, it's free to them. It's currently a little low on participation, but that's any program when it first starts. Last week, I know it was September, but we had 6 people attend, so it's getting better. Pickleball, of course, doing pretty good. Our open gym is offered daily, and on Fridays is our best attendance with average of 11 or 12 people attending open gym on Friday nights. Our pickleball instructor, Pam Burzin, she's currently running pickleball lessons indoors on Wednesday mornings, and looks hugely successful, so you'll get a report on that next month. As far as the youth programming goes, the last day of summer camp was August 9th, and that was a really successful program this year as well. Our average every week was between 30 and 40 kids, and these were different kids. So we have a very close number in our club rec, but it was a different group. So that's really nice to see. The registration, speaking of club rec, is still open and will remain open, and we currently have 42 children registered from each elementary school.
Good.
Right?
How many kids are
42?
42.
Nice.
And the last I heard, I think they've got like nearly 60 or just over 60 kids.
Oh, that's
Really?
So what is that, 8%?
You have most of the school,
That's
yeah.
most.
Yeah, so we,
Yeah.
like, usual, we have a good percentage, this is probably one of the higher percentages we've had in the school, population coming to Bay Oaks, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
It's great.
We're working on getting the teen program kind of up and running. We've had a few teens that visit Bay Oaks occasionally, mostly for open gym, so we want to kind of gather all of them together and see if we can start running some teen nights like we used to. The senior program is still on hiatus, but it'll return in November, and we're working on getting that schedule all set up as well. Aquatics, we might have an update on later. Community outreach and special events. It's been really good to see that our gym has been used by the Lee County Strikers, which is a soccer team, this group, lots of teams within it, and they've pretty standard been using our facility, the indoor gym, to practice on Tuesdays and Thursday nights. And so we'll have 30, 40, sometimes more kids inside the gym practicing their soccer.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
it's really good to see. They use it primarily on rainy days when they can't go to their field. It's normally Kelly Field that they go to. So when they can't go there, they come to Bay Oaks. And we charge them a small rental fee, but it's small, and they appreciate us being open for them. So that's
Good.
really nice to see.
Good.
And that is, let's see.
I don't know if you mentioned, you just wanna talk about the Special Olympics?
Oh,
which
yeah.
I know it happened probably this month.
Right.
I don't know about last month, but it's just such a great opportunity, that we can host that.
Yeah, so they're coming every Thursday for their practice. They've got a big championship or tournament coming up, so they need places to practice their pickleball, and they have strict standards when it comes to a heat index. They cannot play outside when it's so hot. So they really needed an indoor facility that Lee County didn't have available for them, and we connected with them. They're so grateful. It's probably the nicest group to have in, and as they all left last Thursday, every single kid said thank you to us. It was so nice.
Oh,
It was
That's
so
awesome.
sweet.
very
Yeah.
good.
And they're actually having a little practice for their tournament this Saturday, so it'll be considered a rental. It's all a tax write-off, which is nice. They don't pay us up front. We get it at the back end as a tax write-off, so that's a little plus. But they're coming this Saturday, so Shannon and I will be there to open it up for them. And yeah, it's a really great group. We're excited that we have that.
Does that happen to be open, people can go watch it?
Sure. Yep.
Great.
Come on in, and if you happen to be nearby and you want to check it out and work out, it's fine too. As long as we're there, staff will be there. The whole thing is basically open.
Excellent.
And
Yeah.
that information is all on your website.
Actually, I'm not sure that is open. Since it's a special event that is more of a rental. I didn't think to post it, but I can. We can put it out there
If the public is invited to
to watch.
then
then,
it would
yeah.
be fun for them to know that that was there.
Yeah, and I don't know
You
if
bet.
that was a thing, if they wanted
they
us to
want us to
advertise that,
watch,
or they
yeah.
didn't
I'm
want
not
us
sure
to.
if they
I
want
just-
us to, but I'll check
That's
with
worth
them.
a
I should
call
see them
with them.
tomorrow,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
I'll ask them
Good.
tomorrow. And I'll see about that.
I have a question. For the facilities, as far as like the baseball field and all, is that ever open for just people to come play on? Or?
It is.
7 a.m. to
Open all
7 p.m. when the field conditions are appropriate.
Okay.
The gates are open every morning at 7.
On the weekends too? We went by, what day
Should
was
be
it?
7 days a week.
Sunday or so, but all of the chains and the locks were on it.
Was the
It's like
field
middle of the
wet
day.
at all? Like,
No.
Okay, then I will, yes.
I was just curious because we were starting baseball, our
Yeah.
family, and my son wanted to just go throw a couple
No, no,
balls
it-
and see if he'd
it
hit. And I
should
was
be
like, let me
open,
go
so
drive
what-
by.
What day was that?
Oh, Jeff.
Sunday.
It was
Well, I
it's
just
Saturday
wanna,
or
I wanna follow
Sunday.
up,
I'm
'cause
trying to
that
think
was
of.
why I'm asking.
I think it was Sunday, but it was
Sunday?
midday because I had run to Publix and like on my way home. I think it was Sunday.
Yes, the restrooms and the ball field should be open to use as long as the field's not wet, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Even the restroom should be locked up at 7 p.m. and not any earlier.
Okay, that was definitely one of the days. It didn't rain this weekend, so I was curious. But like
Yeah,
all the
I
gates
will,
had the chain with the lock, the padlock on them.
Yeah, and they've been instructed, staff been instructed that if it is wet, to keep it locked.
Sure,
We don't
yeah.
want anybody getting hurt or the field to get,
Right.
too tore up, so, but no, that, if it's not, I appreciate that heads up, cause I'll be following it.
Okay.
We want it to be open for the general public to play on. I know there was a couple softball guys down there too that said, hey, can we, they were in the cage, batting
Right.
cage hitting, like, we go on the field? I'm like, yeah, for sure, yeah, it's here for you guys to use, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I have a couple more things. Are you good?
You can go ahead.
Okay, just a few updates, and they'll probably be on the report for this month, but we just got, yesterday and today, new playground mulch. We hadn't gotten it since the storm. We obviously raked through it, but it was pretty compacted, so we just got new mulch on our Bay Oaks playground, some fresh mulch. And then we did buy mulch, the town bought new mulch for the garden at Bay Oaks too, to freshen that up a little bit more. And then Danielle probably doesn't even know, but I think next week we're gonna start the install of the divider curtain. Our staff are gonna do it next week, so.
What's the divider curtain?
Or we can divide the gym into two. It comes down. Yep. We purchased one, and yeah, we can. It goes this way. I think,
Right, yeah, we were gonna get an automatic one, those were way expensive, we have one, it's just like a curtain, you just manually pull them open.
Which way
That's
does
great.
it split the gym? The
To
long way?
the
or-
courts.
So, well, technically, there's 3 courts, isn't there?
Two.
2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like when you walk.
Two
in,
basketball.
does
Two
it go
full size
all the way?
basketball courts.
So it'll be 2 basketball courts.
Yeah, or volleyball, or.
Yeah.
So that's where
Yeah.
the indoor pickleball. It goes right down
Yeah.
the middle of the
Yeah,
courts,
so
right?
there's, if you can picture the court, there's 2 basketball courts,
Yes.
and on each, there's 4 lines for pickleball courts within those as well. So this curtain will go right down the middle, so you can have 2 distinct basketball courts, each side will have distinct 4 pickleball courts.
Wow.
So it'll
Fun.
split it up really nicely and be all the way up, so balls can't even go over.
Is the bottom of the curtain weighted?
Yep, it's
So-
vinyl from like 10 or 12 feet down, and then it's a mesh material all the way up to the top, so it'll allow air to go through. But the vinyl's very heavy, so it'll weight itself.
Okay.
Very good.
It's like you'd see in any standard gym, except ours isn't gonna be automatic. We'll use our muscles.
Oh,
We have
manual
people for
labor.
that. Yeah,
We had-
exactly.
It's manual operated,
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
We had
then
a
when it
curtain
goes
like
into
that
when it goes into storage
Another time
position, how
when we
much
were trying for one.
room does it take?
Yeah, well, I don't think we ever.
Well, we have yet
I
to
don't
really
think it
see
ever went
that,
through.
but when we ordered it a long time ago,
Yes.
it's, as I recall, maybe only 2-3 feet on the sides. It'll
Okay.
fold up together really well.
Sure.
And I believe, I don't know if this one has a strap that goes over to
Yeah,
kinda
you
keep
can
it in
usually
place.
Oh, you
strap
kinda
it
tie it
in,
up.
get it real tight,
Yep.
yeah.
If not,
Good.
we'll put
We'll
one
get
in.
one.
I have
So
another
much
question.
more usability.
Yeah, and it's nicer when you have 2 groups going on,
You
if you
bet.
have, you could have open gym on one side in a basketball league and the balls wouldn't be crossing, or when the kids
Yeah.
play, you won't have dodgeballs going to each side, or
You
kickballs,
bet.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
Becky?
What
That
exactly
sounds
do we
good.
have open outside? We have the fitness courts. We have
We have the basketball courts, we have the tennis courts, and
Basketball's
pickleball
open,
on the
okay.
basketball courts. So
And the
all of that
baseball.
outside is.
And the
open.
playground, yeah.
And the
okay. All that's open. Okay.
The only thing that isn't open is the large field.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, everything else
And
is.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay.
And
I
the,
didn't realize the basketball was open
and
too.
the disc golf, we don't have, I
Oh,
mean,
the
there's a
disc
few
golf.
out there, but we're gonna wait till we finally get a, whatever we're gonna do with the back of the property.
Yeah.
Right.
To figure out what we're gonna do on that, so. We are, and I guess I can just give a quick update on that. We have yet to get a call back from the state on our grant.
That's what I was about to ask.
It's, I call probably 4 times a week. Floor, who does our grants, calls, I think every day, and we just can't get anybody to respond. We called National Park Service now, and still no one will respond. So, we've emailed, we've have it in writing, I document when I call. I don't wanna be, negative about it, but I don't foresee it, us getting funding to do the ballpark, so, through the grant. If they haven't made a decision by now, and it's been probably 6 months of us trying to get it, an
Right.
answer to extend it, cause it's due December 31st. We can't do anything after that, unless they would extend it. And we've had the mayor call, town manager has called,
Oh my
and we can't get
goodness.
an answer. So,
For them not to give you an answer is
Yeah.
just sort of
we agree with that.
poor management on their part.
What office or body specifically?
We've gone
Are
all
we
the way up.
approaching?
Frankie went all the way almost up to, towards the top.
Okay, but I mean, what is it?
Is
Is it
that
state or federal?
Division, what?
The
what
state
state-
gave us the grant, but it's through the national parks.
Okay.
Oh, national, oh, it's through the national parks.
So yeah, we're still working on it. We're more than doing our due diligence. You know, maybe too much, but somebody should just give us a call back.
Sure.
Right?
I said, I just wanna know either way. We need to plan for the future. This has been held up kinda long enough because of the hurricane too, and said I do wanna know one way or the other, and we submitted all the documentation. We actually have gotten confirmation that all of everything they need, they have. And then of course, when we go up the chain, they'll say, it's actually this, so they'll get back to you, and it just doesn't happen, so. So it's unfortunate, but hopefully they'll come back and, you know, tell us we can have an extension on the grant, but I'm not sure. So everything is, can't really do much without the extension. I mean, we can't really start because we wouldn't finish, you know, by December 31st.
So it's
And
be
that-
completed by then.
Completed and paperwork in, yeah, at the end of the grant session. So that's, even if we would've started a few months ago, we wouldn't have,
Correct,
Been done.
yeah.
so.
So if we're not getting that $1 million grant from the National Park Service, is there a grant opportunity for the Florida State Park?
Well, that's what we're getting the
Department.
funding from the state.
Oh, it's the
But it's-
state.
I think it's a
but
pass-down
through
from
the
federal,
national,
so.
it's, okay, I guess I'm just not clear on what,
Mhm.
so it's a state-funded grant,
Correct.
oh, okay.
Well, we tried to go up the chain a little bit and see, because I think the federal has to sign off on it, I think somewhere along the line, so.
Well, it's interesting that the State Department at one point wanted to build all these golf courses, and yet there's no funding for us to repair a ball field, it's a little.
Exactly.
It'd be fine opening a golf course.
You
They
know,
were-
I wonder if I could get our park manager at Lover's Key State Park to make a phone call, if she might have a connection at the state park level on
Maybe.
grants.
Yeah.
At least just to get an
State Park and
answer.
Rec, I mean, I don't know if it's the
Mhm.
same.
I don't know if it is either, but I can ask Katie if it is. So,
You guys are
Yeah,
state
like I
park.
said,
yeah.
Dan has tried, and Andy has tried, Frankie's tried,
Park and
Wow.
Rec
we're just not getting, I don't know how long it takes to review, maybe that's part of it, if it takes a few months to review.
When was
Do you
it
think-
submitted?
They had told, no, I mean, the actual grant was
The
pre.
grant application that we
The,
submitted?
was that's pre-hurricane, that's,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Mhm.
Even if it's
Um,
not done, you think they would just be like, okay, we're not finished reviewing it? Like just some sort of
Right,
communication.
Yeah, that's what I said, I just wanna know one way or the other, and we'll
Yeah.
Right.
kinda stop calling for a little bit.
Yeah, no is a bad answer, but it's an answer and we can make plans.
Right.
I just called before this meeting again, just in case there was an update. It's actually the name I got was a female's name, but when I go to when I get the voicemail, it's a male, so they say this is Justin or Jason or something, not even. No, it's two different names.
Oh.
So I'm assuming. So yeah, so I you know, we got some really good news on the pool, which we can talk about later, but yeah. We got one ball field that's usable, so that's good, but we'll see.
So that means that for a whole year, there's nothing happening on that land?
I wouldn't say that, we have to find alternative, either
Right.
plans or funding.
Right, but
And
even
maybe
if you.
it's we don't want a ball field there anymore, maybe we
Yeah.
want a multi-use field we've had a lot of people come in for soccer. They want flag football back, so
Well, I think
maybe we just,
this is the time and this is the place and these are the people to have that conversation. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about if there's no funding to recreate the ball field and there are other options that this community now wants us to discuss with regard to what should be happening on that property. Ideas, we need some ideas. We need we
yeah,
need
and we'll
community
see.
support, and then we need to find the funding to make that happen.
Yeah.
I think before the hurricane, we, as BORCAB members, were all talking about the that field not only being a ball field, but also, because it was already existing at that point, but also to have it as a multi-use field. We were going to have concerts, we were going to
Yes.
have art festivals, we were going to have, taste of the island events, food courts, all of that on the property. So none of that has changed. We just want to bring that back to the front burner to say, let's continue this conversation.
Yeah, and I know part of the R2P2 conversation was they wanted a lot of walking paths and trails.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
So-
think with the
Those are all
plan that we
things.
had, it was thought about that we would have that perimeter walking path, but because of the mangroves, there was no room for it.
Right.
But if we reimagine that space, then we can have ample room for all of that. And I guess perhaps even a boardwalk or something
Yeah,
that would
that'd
go beyond where, and then hook up to Matanzas Pass Preserve.
If we could make that work in the
Yes.
mangroves or around by the Historical Society, that'd be great.
So,
So really, and I don't mean to be so vague, but there's just a lot of things like the pool. We couldn't have a plan until we had a plan and funding for it.
How does that work with the ball field though? Because I know with the Little League ball field, that was the whole deal. Little League had raised so much money over the years, and that was part of their field. Now that the Little League field is there, does that matter for the bigger field?
What do you
Was
mean,
it-
Little League raised so many funds for
That was part of the discussion we had a couple years ago. We were talking about one field versus two fields, and Little League had always raised so much money over the years for their field, I believe. We weren't part of Little League, so I don't know all the details.
That has always been our field, the
Right.
town's field.
So what happens, like,
Not always, I should
the
say.
bigger
until the
field? I mean, does that, because I mean, the Little League field is great.
Yeah.
Who uses the bigger one?
That was
Adult
my
leagues
question.
and all?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we'd have some random people come down and use it. Obviously, the seniors that come down and play the double or the triple deuces.
Okay.
But
I've seen
I
Little
think
League
they
play
like
on
hitting a lot
it,
of the little
but
park. To be honest, I really do.
yeah.
It's more powerful
It's
for
more
'em.
powerful. The bases are shorter. But
That's
Everybody
what-
no, there isn't a reason why we per se have to do another field.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen Little League play on both fields at the same time, which, I mean, you could schedule one game at a time, if you have to have one field. But soccer, we never had room for soccer to play out there. We would have to go out to Kelly Road.
That's my point. I mean, they only
Yeah, I
had
mean,
they didn't even have enough kids for one team. let alone for Little League.
soccer, Little League, right.
So I don't know if there's. I don't know, and I'm a baseball guy, like
Well,
a
the-
big baseball guy. I don't want to say no to a ballpark,
We're
but if
starting-
there's other things that the community wants,
There's
and
like 5 beach kids that are playing Bonita ball starting tonight.
5, yeah.
Yeah, because they put us all on the same team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's, I don't know. I don't know where all the kids are going, but we got to get them back somehow.
Yeah, no,
But they have the Little
but
League
at one field,
field, so.
I mean, for instance, my son plays at Ruttenberg, and we only use the one field.
right.
We don't play on the other 4, so I think one team. I mean, even if there was 4 teams, they could share that field.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Just if it was too small for somebody else who was using the bigger field in the past. I didn't know who used it.
Karen, I'd love your thoughts on this, because, you've been a member of BORCAB and.
And
you're
remember,
the
before
whole-
Karen, before you, I just want to say that this is all very hypothetical. If we get the
Yeah.
grant, we'll
Right.
probably use the grant for a specific
Right.
thing, or if it can be modified, we can do that within the grant. It's just
These are
we
backup
may
plans.
we may not have that funding after December 31st to use, and then we're kind of back to square one again.
So if
in
we're
other
kind of
words,
just
you're saying
talking
if that
about it.
grant
Possibly.
funding is available, then that's what it's designated for, and that's
Yeah,
what's
I mean, there's
going in.
always a chance we could ask to modify it to a multi-purpose field.
But,
So
but,
Right.
yeah, but
What-
what I'm hearing is that you're not getting that funding. I mean, you're
we
not
don't.
getting
I don't
any
know. I just
response.
wanted to give everyone the update that we've been really trying. At this point, they're not even being responsive, so we may want to start thinking about alternatives, but we may get that funding. I don't know.
Well, and wasn't there a conversation too now, and I know you're gonna talk about the pool funding, but by January, all of these trailers are gonna be out of here. I mean,
Yes.
We will be
Mhm.
moving to the new offices and
Right.
everything. There might be one trailer left for maintenance or, I
I don't think we
there'll be.
can anymore.
Okay, so they'll all be gone. So then it's a question of, okay, now we've got the pool funding.
Right.
We don't want that to be an institutional pool anymore. We wanna make it grander, bigger. You know, that means all the locker
Multipurpose.
rooms, all that kind of stuff. So we have a big area to
Yeah.
look at that could be repurposed, you know,
If you go- yeah.
re-engineered to see what we want.
And
We have seen a
doing-
lot of good examples,
We had
like
some good plans.
in Tampa, in bigger cities, that have area this size. This is a lot for a community our size. This is a big area to have a park, which is great. We're not getting rid of it. We're just gonna keep utilizing it as much as we can. But we've seen some really cool things, some images, talking to some other people. You know, they're just cool looking parks. I mean, they're for people to walk around. There's things for them to do within the park. There's retention ponds. There's all sorts of things that we could put, and not as a passive recreation. And we'd still probably want to do something with some active recreation like soccer or baseball or something, some big area. I know lacrosse is big too, so an area maybe for that, for teams to come down, but.
And even more outdoor pickleball courts during
Correct.
season and that kind of thing.
Yep, and we had to have this whole area, cause we're, you know, probably not gonna put parking in here. Like, part of that grant that we're getting is, I think, around 400,000 of it was to do the parking lot.
Oh,
So it was really spelled out into specific things. It was baseball field or softball, multi-purpose field is what it said. So we can interpret that however we want. Curbing and parking. What else was there? Pickleball. There's like 6 items on there, 5 or 6 items that it was specifically going towards. So it wasn't going towards the new building, the new community center. It wasn't going towards the pool, that kind of thing. So.
Okay, I just sent you, I contacted Katie Moses, and
Okay.
she basically, she said she doesn't, it's a different division than DEP, but she sent me the link for the land and recreation grants, and she said, here's at least some names you can try contacting on the website, so I don't
Perfect.
know if you have any of those, or, anyway, I just sent it to you.
Yeah, well, I'll try any number possible.
Yeah, you can try them all, right? Yeah, I mean, I just think I think we're at the point where we start looking at a new master plan of what we wanna do here, and I don't know, personally, I don't know that we need the building anymore, because we're gonna have so much more building at the new town hall,
right.
that we're gonna have those meeting rooms, we're gonna have, you know, space for all the things that we have talked about. Maybe we won't have a stage, but, you know, that could be, you know, maybe a little mini amphitheater here or something like that. But
That
I
would be
think we should
wonderful.
probably look at how does this all play out and kinda get a whole new vision going.
And maybe we can use the one that we had been talking about, that,
Mhm.
you know, obviously didn't get to the finalization, thank God, right?
Yeah.
To the construction documents, but we can pull that back up and say, okay, this is no longer of need for us. And
Right.
then we can begin to think about, you know, what it is that we can,
What's important to
incorporate
us.
that, you know, and especially because of the multi-use property there
Sure.
and the idea of the walkway.
Yeah.
To me, that opens up a lot of opportunities for events, which I think is the better way to utilize that property. It addresses a larger audience than a ball field would.
Right.
And I agree, you know, I understand that's been a venerable tradition on Fort Myers Beach.
Right, right.
Is that
We've
ball
done
field,
that.
and Lee Melsick can attest to that
Yep,
for all those
yep,
years.
you bet.
So it's near and dear to the heart of the people that used to live here, but we're in the 21st century now. We have to really think about what this community is looking for. Clearly, the pool is a huge agenda item for me as
Right,
well as for John
exactly.
and others. But this ball field is a clean slate, I
Yeah.
think.
I mean,
Mhm.
soccer is so popular.
Soccer, I think soccer would be awesome.
Mhm.
There are a lot of
Mhm.
adults that would love to play soccer on that
Absolutely.
field.
Danielle, how many
Right.
kids are coming down to play soccer during the week?
On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I mean, 30, 40, sometimes 50 kids.
Strikers are the kids that we played though. When the Fort Myers Beach Soccer played Strikers on the weekend, like
Okay.
those were our games.
Yeah.
So
And what
then
I understood is that there was not a soccer field could not be placed on that existing
Correct.
ball field. That's what I remember.
Yeah,
that
it wasn't
conversation.
large enough.
depending on like the age
regulation.
it you know changes the size of the field, but they didn't even have enough for the smaller ones.
See, so maybe that is ruled out as a result of sheer geography, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and multi-use, we can be really proactive with some coming trends. Flag football and lacrosse are both in the next 2 Olympic Games, and they are gonna be marketed across America to a level that who's prepared is gonna benefit.
Well, I mean, if you go to Naples, you go to Bonita, you
Yeah.
go, lacrosse is huge.
Yeah.
Like,
Bonita
it's
is-
already huge down here.
Yeah.
Wow.
exactly.
But where-
And then to have somewhere to practice down here, or even, I mean, soccer, or, I know we used to have a big flag football, league here.
This
I mean,
is
I
the-
talked to one of the guys that coaches my son, he's like, yeah, I used to coach down there, we had a lot of kids, so we know there's a need for it, it's just we haven't had a
You bet.
space for it.
Yeah.
This is the second year Bonita High's had a girls flag football team.
Mhm.
Like it's starting to
Oh, it's
really
coming.
pick up.
It hasn't even really been marketed yet, and it's coming. I
Yeah,
know
I
that
mean,
from the
it's-
Olympic side.
It's already, I mean, they do the play, NFL does the NFL 60, the play 60, and that's all flag football, and it's a big thing, a lot of, you know, when my son's friends play, you know, in the area, so it'd be nice to have an area where they could play.
Well, that opens up an all new,
So that might be a discussion for later,
Yeah.
but I just
Right.
wanted,
But
my
this
point
is
was,
ideas,
my
I mean-
point was that we need to maybe start thinking about plan B, cause once we find out, hey, we either are getting or aren't, we need to have a plan going forward, or I would like a plan going forward where we can start something and it's not gonna take 4 years to do.
Yeah, and we can kind of start before that deadline hits negative.
Of course, yeah, and that's what
You
I'm
know,
saying,
that's what I mean,
yeah, I wanna get something, you know, I don't want it to look like that.
you bet.
That back there is gonna be all the material for the fill, cause we're still gonna have to raise it up.
Sure.
That's never gonna, I mean, we don't want it to flood every time we get a high tide, so
Exactly.
we're gonna have to bring it up, you know, 2-3 feet and.
So am I hearing, once all the trailers are gone, that is going to occur regardless of whatever plan is happening
From
going
what
forward?
I hear now, that these trailers are all of our Bay Oaks Connex boxes are all gonna have to go because of the new the FEMA regulations.
Right, of course.
November 18th.
Okay,
I
so
said
by
that was
November
November,
18th.
yeah.
So,
But
that,
this-
if that affects the town too,
But
being
these
at these
buildings
trailers.
don't have to, because we are in process of doing the other building, so.
Right.
I think we got the extension to
January maybe, yeah.
January.
Yeah.
We got the extension to January, because we have everything in play
yeah,
right now,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, you're right, we did get that to
Yeah.
January, but it's still not a whole lot of time.
No, it's not a whole lot of
Um,
time.
So, you know, we have to follow the rules too, and so we won't be able, I mean, we were planning on having a public works trailer over at the
Yeah.
public works lot. We're
Right.
gonna have to figure something out with that, cause that's not gonna be able to be there.
Oh, wow.
So,
oh,
you know, we'll find a spot for them, of course, but
right.
Wait, though, isn't that, because I thought it was just the first 2 lots in
sounds like from what I
from
heard
Estero.
in the last 2 days that we're not gonna be able to have a PW trailer there.
Really?
I thought it was the whole island. Am I gonna misread that?
I don't know, I don't know,
I
I don't, and I don't wanna, I can't say anybody else's, I'm just talking about what I've heard about our trailers and our property, so.
Yeah.
Those are the plans that we're making, is to get these off, to comply with everything going on.
So you're saying that by January, when these trailers will be off this property, all of that fill back there can immediately be used to bring up the elevation of the property
Yeah,
in general,
we
is
could
that
start right
right?
now, we could start tomorrow. We just don't have any, we don't know where the funding will come from to start the project.
So you need that $1 million to start leveling
That's
the
all part of
ground?
the groundwork.
The groundwork.
The earthwork and all
So it's
of
not
it.
that the buildings are in the way.
Really?
It's that there's
Okay, it's not a
No,
question.
it just,
money.
No, it's just the money to hire the people to do it.
Yeah.
It's gotta be funded.
like, they
first.
dumped it here for free, I mean, they just dumped it.
No,
We
yeah,
didn't
but
pay
it's gotta
for
be
that.
crushed up and everything,
Yeah,
right? I
crushed
mean,
up.
yeah. It's a lot.
So that grant didn't just cover the ball field and parking and pickleball, it also covered taking that,
The infrastructure, if you
fill
will.
and
Yeah.
flattening the property, in other words, just to prepare.
Yeah, the reason there's so much fill is because we have to raise it up about 3 feet. And it's
Right.
either that we do that or truck in dirt, which is more expensive.
Right,
So they can crush it right here, you know, level it out, harden it, and,
so do we know how much that cost without putting the ball field in?
just to level it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think we got a number yet. I have a company that came out to look at it. I don't know if you ever did finally give me a number or not. That was recently, so. I'll see if I can figure out a number.
It'd be interesting to
'Cause
see.
that obviously is gonna need to happen regardless of what happens on that property going forward.
Right.
So whether it's the ball field or whatever we reimagine as a
Yeah.
group here, that ground
It-
will be leveled by that fill and, you know.
It'll be
who's gonna do
leveled,
it, how
but there
much will it
might,
cost.
the way the drainage goes and the permit, we gotta figure out where the retention ponds are gonna go. Cause there's gotta be retention in there. So we have a plan where they're gonna go, but if it's reconfigured and we do another purpose on, you know.
You stick a
for it-
retention pond right where the soccer field needs to be.
Yeah, you know, for irrigation and runoff, then we may have to go to plan, you know, another plan, but there's a lot of moving parts when you, a big project like that. It took us about a year, over a year to get the permit, the wetlands permit anyway, so hopefully we don't have to modify that too much.
Oh.
And we can just stay with that.
How
Did
long
that
is the
come from
permit good
state,
for?
The wetlands permit?
Yeah, that's
DEP?
DEP.
Does it expire? I mean, I would think it
I
has an
think
expiration
we
date,
can
right?
ask for extensions. I think we've asked for extensions. Remember? The permitting for the ball field? Yeah, we have at least a couple of years.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering if, and I know that we were waiting on this other grant, but the grant that we got through the CDBGR funding for the pool and Newton Park and all that,
Mhm.
is there another bucket that we can go back and ask? Because one of the things that Frankie said is, or I think it was Andy that said at a council meeting, that, you know, we asked for what we could foreseeably get done and had the wherewithal to do. And then there's other monies available, so as we see other opportunities to go back and ask for more. So I'm just wondering if we really think that we're not gonna get this, could we start looking into those CBDGR funds and see if there's another funding mechanism? But then I'm assuming that we have to have the plan laid out first, or not?
Yeah, in order to get money through that, if there was extra funds, we'd have to have a plan in place.
Okay,
They even want design, like for Newton Park, we had, the whole building was redesigned to spec,
okay,
cause we needed the cost to it.
gotcha.
So we had, through Tidal Basin, they have a company that did it for us. So we do have a plan of a building at Newton, and it's beautiful.
Right,
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
just high, you know,
right,
so I don't know if that would be incorporated in the plans or not, but you don't have to use those per se, we wouldn't have to use those specs of that building, but it's just a placeholder.
so is that something, so the last time we went through, what was it, DMP or
DRMP?
Mhm.
DRMP.
I know, I never can remember
I
that
know.
acronym either.
Right.
You know, and that cost us a pretty penny,
It
but now
did.
we've got these planners that have been given to us by the state that we're gonna be talking to again about different projects, Times Square, one in particular. Is this something that they could also take a look at? Cause I think, Frankie's trying to set up a meeting with them in October. Yeah, in October, second week of October or something like that. So maybe this is something that we could talk to them about too. Is this, you know, do they do parks and recreation? Do they do this kind of thing as far as planning and not just downtown areas or municipalities or something? I don't know if they do or not, but it's free.
Oh, boy.
So it's funded through the state, so it's a free,
That was the group that came in for those
Yeah.
few days, workshops that we had,
You
yes.
right.
And we came up with that plan for Newton Park as a result
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, that was, wasn't that part of the R2P too?
That's R2P2, yes, R2P2.
Yeah.
I knew it had to do with Star Wars.
Right, exactly, Star Wars.
That's R2D2.
Star Wars.
That's how I remember it.
The force is not necessarily,
Yeah. Well, there's a force there, let me tell
but
you.
we want it.
So I don't know, maybe we should just, before that meeting, just have an idea if that's even what they can do, because that could expand while they're here. We could talk
Yeah.
one day about Times Square, another day about here, you know, something like that again.
Yeah, I got a note to ask him.
Okay.
Good,
Okay.
good.
Okay, and you can maybe
Okay.
get whatever information you glean for our meeting next month then,
You bet.
about what
Yeah, but with, I mean,
That'd
we'll,
Mhm.
I mean, you'd think you'd know by October or November if we got the extension or not, I mean.
You think you would have known
When
during
we
house.
initially talked to them about the extension, it was 3-4 months ago probably, and they said it might take a while, cause the new grant cycle was due, and they were going through all of those, I'm like, how long does it take you to review
An extension, yeah.
an
It's
extension?
go- it's-
So, maybe it's
Okay.
just a matter of staffing and not getting to it yet, and maybe, be optimistic about it.
Okay. Well, let's move on then to item 8. The update on funding for the pool.
Oh, actually, I have a question before
Oh,
we move on.
okay, sure, go
The,
ahead.
sunshades for the fitness court, where are we with that?
Well,
Oh.
they told us it was gonna be 2 to 3 weeks to get the poles. It's now been at least a month and a half, still no poles. As of yesterday, I just made a decision, we're gonna cancel and order from a new company. Cause they can't even give me a tracking number on them.
Oh,
They said it's coming
wow.
from Texas, but, so we're just gonna cancel it and order new ones, and hopefully it's another 2 to 3 weeks before they get in. I mean, they're big poles, so we're still working on it, we haven't forgot about it. We do have the actual shade,
Mhm.
the sail,
But you need the poles.
kinda need
You
the
need the
poles for them to go in the air.
Good.
That's
Kinda.
helpful.
So, that'd be a lot of helium.
Not to mention,
Right,
not to
Tall
mention the
people.
installation crew to do it.
yeah.
What?
Or does Public Works?
We'll
Oh,
put them
Public-
in,
oh,
yeah.
you put the
Yep, we'll put the
poles
footers
in.
in and
Oh,
put
okay.
'em in, yeah. So we're
Didn't
just,
need any shade
Right.
at 4:30 this morning. I beat
did
the
you go
sun.
out there? Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Cool,
Okay,
So that's good, thank you for asking.
all right. Are we ready for the update on the funding for the pool?
Yeah, so I don't know, probably last meeting, we kinda said we were hoping to get some awesome funding for the pool and a couple other projects. Thanks, Jason. Sorry. A lot of times during these meetings, I'll get fact checked or something from one of our staff, and so Jason just said that permit that we were talking about goes till 2028.
Okay.
Okay,
Uh,
good.
The Southwest Division, so. South Florida Water Management District, that's where it comes from. Sorry.
Swift mud.
Yeah, Swift Month. Okay, so the pool, so I think, yeah, last time we had said we were hoping to get some funding, we were pretty optimistic, and we ended up getting quite a bit of funding for the pool, so, we are gonna be, we met with them last Friday, we met with, the people last Friday, they're gonna come and do a site inspection tomorrow, for both the tower, the north tower, the pool, and Newton Park. So we're gonna be looking at those, they just wanna do an initial site inspection to make sure that the footprint is the same, and, cause they're gonna be doing all the permitting as far as the, environmental reviews and all those things, so, they're gonna come and do an initial kinda look at the areas tomorrow, we'll just talk about the pool specifically, and then we'll kinda go forward from that.
And
We
that
have
was
to
the
get,
13.1,
that was total 13.1.
13.1 to be divided by those three.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, looks like we can do something big, which is awesome, you know, if you remember, FEMA only gave us like 200,000. So, these are awesome additional fundings that we can use,
Jeff,
and-
you're talking about the footprint. And is this one of those grants or gives that the town gets that we have to use the same footprint that the current pool has? Or can we improve this thing a little bit?
From the initial meeting we had said we're gonna use the same footprint. Now what that means is we still have a lot of area we could use for a pool. You know,
Yes.
that doesn't mean that we can't push back the rest, the locker rooms and stuff towards the playground, or even move it out. I mean, our property, we're not gonna go into somebody else's property, but we still have a lot of property that we can work with.
Yeah, I understand a road could be vacated and everything, but I just don't see how there's not enough room there for, official lap pool.
I mean, there will be a lap
there
pool,
will
not like
be.
an Olympic lap
Yeah,
pool, but
I know, but it's about half the size
I just,
of a
yeah, I don't,
typical lap pool. I don't know
There
what
might
your
be.
usage is on lap pools, just like the big ball field. I mean, I had a hard time believing that had a lot of usage. Maybe it did,
The
I
lap
don't
pool?
know. No, the ball field.
oh, the ball field, then, no, not as much.
But with the lap pool,
Yeah.
I know every aquatic facility I've worked in, the lap pool is extremely popular.
And it is
And-
here in the mornings, yeah, for sure. We had to share it with other people too, which was
Interesting.
interesting. Barbara, you can attest to
bet.
that. I mean, we had aerobics and we had, you know,
Well,
the,
they
There just wasn't
typically,
enough room.
yeah, they typically do water aerobics in lap pools because the pleasure pool is too shallow.
and that's where we did it. We
Yeah.
did it in the lap pool.
Right.
So we'll have some
So
more space.
that's my
I just-
point. It's not really a question. It's just like, I think there's plenty of space there that you get creative and really make, you know, it sounded like that facility was well-loved. And I think you can bring something back that would be
Yeah.
a real benefit
And
to
we
the
definitely
town.
we had more visitors by a large number than we had residents using in the pool. So traditionally,
During season.
I mean, total throughout the year.
Oh, really?
So,
Mm.
so
We had a
when-
lot more daily passes that were from visitors than residential
Huh.
people using it.
When will the theoretical design stop
I mean,
being a
we-
mystery?
Probably won't get.
That's,
Where are we gonna, when are we gonna put it out for bid? I'm not quite sure. We probably won't even get the money until January.
And
I-
that's not the question though.
yeah.
I know, I mean, obviously where I sit, everybody knows who has any care about the pool, but, it doesn't feel evasive yet, but it's getting to a point where, when can we see what this magic idea is?
I don't
Because,
think we
and
know
it
it.
doesn't have to be committed to, but it's going too far in, we have this great idea, tell us your great idea. We're the users.
Yeah.
You know, and not you. I'm speaking ethereally.
I use the
Because,
pool.
because I mean, if you, to your point, the depth and that, that rectangle that is starting to be spoken against, I think to the death of the major user, the lap pool wasn't utilized as much as it could have been because it opened at 9 o'clock. And the swimming crowd swims before work, swims before their day. They kick off their day there.
5
So,
a.m.
so there are some opposing things where, you know, yes, it's a fact that there were probably less lap swimmers than we would have wanted, even though there were a lot. But
Relative, I guess.
we were
yes.
in line at the gate because we've already been up for 3 hours.
Yeah.
You know, and I just really want that to be so,
And part of that is
not heard but
budgetary. We can't have
absorbed.
the pool open for so many hours. I mean, we'd have to pay so many extra staff. So some of that is budgetary. I
Yeah.
get that.
Well, and I think
Um,
your lap swimmers are gonna pay what it costs to cover who's coming in, because
I mean, historically, we've never made money at the pool, or Bay Oaks,
Yeah.
or Mount House. You know, we've not even come close.
But I also think, I will tell you right now, it was mismanaged. I
That's 'cause-
mean,
Yeah.
it stayed the same fees for
Yeah.
12
Zero
years
12 years,
before
yeah.
they even did anything. We didn't do anything with the fees this year because we really don't have that much outside of the gym. So we didn't
Right.
mess with the fees. We said, let's
Yeah.
look at next year.
yeah.
You know, as we go forward and we get this funding, we do it. But, you know, to your point, there's a lot of talk about the pool.
I have not.
There is
I personally, I
nothing.
can tell you, looking you in the eye, I have not
No.
seen a concept of the pool.
Well,
Never.
and yeah, and
I
that's
have not.
And I sounded confrontational because I'm so passionate
Yeah.
about this, and I'm not being that. But there seems to be people with an idea in their head that they've been presented to of even a concept,
No,
and
that's just
And-
ideas.
and that's,
There's nobody
you know,
even working on the
I-
concept.
yeah,
Yeah.
what we know and what we feel though are two
Two
different
different
things.
things, you bet.
And this is how I feel as a person who is not gonna stop talking about it.
Yeah.
4 50-meter lanes can be in a beautiful, utilizable pool design. It can even have a small bulkhead, and now you have 8 short lanes. And you can have lap going on with exercise going on with people floating in a tube going on somewhere. You know, there's so much, and
But I think, John,
I'm just
there's-
over anxious to know
Yeah.
what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
So
Hey, you know what?
since it's so
Yeah,
close
me
and
too.
the green happened,
I would love to see
is
this. I mean,
There's
obviously,
just been a
we've looked
many
at-
ideas thrown out there. I think
Yeah.
sometimes publicly, I mean, I've heard everything from a doggy splash pad to
Yeah.
concessionaires selling drinks,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know. So,
yeah, and we have
I think that, especially with your knowledge, that I think that we could have a pretty good idea of how to start a design here,
Yeah.
but you're gonna get into engineering challenges, you know,
I have about 30 dream ones,
right?
so I'm not gonna be starting from scratch. But
I also have, I've seen pictures of about 30 dream ones.
yeah,
You know, just
yeah.
from doing research and
Right.
looking what we might want. There's some great pools out there and pool designers.
I guess my question is, if in fact staff had to come up with a concept for Newton Park before they could get that $5 million for the redevelopment of Newton Park, and they had to conceptualize a building that could justify $5 million, what did you present for this grant funding for the pool that gives us some suggestion that, you know, we know what we're going for? I mean, if
We
they,
did a
if they had
concept
to do
plan
it.
for that one, what we'd like to see. You know, a bigger pool area.
Okay, but was that actually drawn out like
I
you
don't know
had
if
to
it's
do
ever
with
drawn
Newton?
out like the other one was. We only got, cause the other one was free to us. We didn't have to pay for the design. So the Newton one, you mean?
Right,
Yeah, that one we didn't pay for. That
right,
one
but
was
who
given.
put in the pool into that design? Cause at the time, that was really just sort of more of a pavilion and sort of a very rough draft. But, so somebody had to come up with the justification for a $5 million, fund for Newton Park by putting in that
Yeah, Tidal
building.
Basin's
So
company
who
did that
drew
for
that?
us.
I guess that's my
What was the
question.
company? I could find the company name.
Okay, so you actually, the town had to hire.
We did not. Tidal Basin had some resources right after Ian that was free to us.
Okay, so that was Tidal Basin. Okay, so did they have to do, before you could apply for this grant, did you have to come up with a rough concept plan of the pool area? I guess that's my
Well,
question.
and then the other thing
I
is,
have not seen the actual grant.
it's only
I
my
did
third
not write
meeting,
her.
but
Look who just walked through, Frankie.
I wonder if we have an answer.
This
to
was
that
just
question.
you.
Question?
Frankie, don't you know what's going on in here?
You can't sneak in like that.
So, there's a question. When we put in for the grant and we got the money for the pool, and we understand that Tidal Basin did a conceptual thing so that we could put that into the grant for the pool?
No, there was no drawing of any kind. Again, my name is Frank Kopacek,
Okay.
Operations Director for the town of Fort Myers Beach.
We're putting you on the spot, sorry.
Yes, there is no conceptual plan, design or any of that. All that we used was quotes that we had gotten. One of them was the only one that we got for a complete fit job, meaning start to finish, was one contractor, and we used their figures for the rebuild as a line item for our purchase.
Rebuild of the
proposal.
current, what was there currently or previously.
Right, so we went back to when the pool was originally built, and then the day before the storm.
Okay,
What was the value of that if we had to rebuild it the day before that storm? And it came out roughly around the $4 million mark. So
So,
that's what we use as our line item for our project.
so based on
Okay,
that, can we change it? Or is it like specific you have to go with?
We go, what we put in there now. So when the pool does get built back, there's going to be changes.
And that's okay?
Not to the pool. People will still be able to do their laps, they'll do all that kind of stuff. The slide obviously is, gotta be removed because it's a safety hazard at this point. But all that concrete that we had around that pool, that's gonna be reimagined.
okay.
Green space, livable space, walkable space.
It's okay to change
Shared
things.
space. The outline of the pool stays the same. The box, we can't change that. It has
You
to stay that
can't
way.
change that.
Right. But we
Okay.
can enhance it, we can add to it somewhat, as long as it still fits in those parameters.
Same thing with the slide, that stays the same?
The slide is different, because the slide is considered an accessory. So accessory can either stay, or they can go.
Can it not be changed,
No,
the
we
pool
need that.
itself, because that's the stipulation
No,
of the
there's more
grant,
things
or
that-
because it just would cost too
Far
much
better.
money?
The dollar amount is already given, so all that the federal government is giving you is that X amount of dollars.
Is that 4 million?
It's a little over that, yes,
So
ma'am.
the federal government would not allow us to
No.
change
They-
the whole?
You cannot put a waiver in for something like that.
Okay, that's my
So-
question.
But conceptually, all you have is the outline of the big pool. The kiddie pool doesn't really qualify as a pool. That can be
Okay.
reimagined, redesigned within that space.
Okay,
Because it has to go by depth, and that doesn't go deep enough to be considered a pool.
Okay,
So that plays into our plans as far as how we wanna redesign it, freshen it up, move it into this century, and make it more accommodable to families.
but the
Thank you.
depth stays the same as
The
long,
depth
whatever's
stays-
in it is different?
As the big pool.
Okay, no,
Every-
even this, where the kid pool
The
is?
kiddie pool doesn't qualify for that hard and stop, because it's
Yeah,
not,
that's just a
doesn't meet
splash
that depth
pad.
qualification.
Officially.
So you're saying that we need to actually provide additional funding if we wanted any of the other elements or amenities to be added to this initial?
There's gonna be plenty of amenities built in. So when I envisioned this program and we sat down and we started talking about it, and, you know, you kinda had a broad brush on how you wanted to redo this. So moving out that concrete was the first step. Making it more appealing to families. You know, I come from Cape Coral, so the county built Sunsplash and then turned it over to the city. The city has never figured out a way to manage or run that correctly. Now they have a private concern in there, and all of a sudden they're making a profit. Well, how are they doing that? You know, you make it more family friendly. You just don't drop off the kids and the parents go away. No, you do something so the parents stay and engage. So we have the object to make it you come and have cocktail. Your kids are over here. We have lifeguards. Whatever the case may be. I'm just throwing that out there. That's
Sure.
not a hard and fast anything. But trying to reimagine that space, not the big pool. That'll still be for the lap people and still for the aerobics and all those type of things. But the whole other surrounding area, trees, you know, cabanas,
Landscaping, right.
not just a metal structure with a sunshade over it.
Right. So my understanding is that it's not the additional funding that we need to change it, is that we can't change it. Because they
You-
gave us the grant.
Right, you can't change the funding.
Right.
If you wanna find more funding and add to it,
But then you still couldn't change the actual hole that the pool
No.
is in.
Okay,
Right.
so now that you've received the funding, at what point can BORCAB be part of that conversation?
well, the actual funding will probably be transferred to the town, probably close to the first of the year, maybe a
Okay.
little after. At that point, we still have to go through our whole procedural paperwork with our vendor. Our vendor is Tidal Basin, so they're the manager of that grant. I'm probably looking at maybe February-ish,
Okay,
with the deadline of a hard and fast, once they hit the shovel in the ground, they'll be done in a calendar year.
now I'm talking about when we as
But
BORCAB
that's when
be
you
part
guys,
of the.
that's when you guys will come into that process, in February. Because at that point, whatever we agree on, or we talk about from that point on, it's less than a year for this,
We should be talking
for
about it
companies
though.
to do this.
But why can't we start talking about it now?
Yeah,
You
we
definitely
should be
can.
talking
You
about
definitely
it.
can come up with your ideas and any type of things that you
But who
want.
does the design on it? So we're gonna have to hire someone to do the design? Do we know who that's gonna be?
Well, it would go off for RFP,
Okay.
okay? So by federal standards, these contracts have to go off for RFP. So we take the scope of work that we did in the proposal, we draft that into the RFP, we send that out. We come back, whoever comes with those bids, we look at, staff would look after those, make recommendations, you guys would put your input into it as well.
So then
and-
we,
and
at
that's
that
kinda what
point,
we'd
we
go.
would see that draft and it would be up
Correct,
for
you'd see the
our-
vision of whoever contractor is coming here and briefly what they think that they can do.
When does,
Similar to what DRMP did for the community
Exactly,
center.
exactly.
Same thing.
Probably wouldn't have the elaborate drawings at that stage, but once you selected
Right.
that contractor to go forward, it would be very soon after that you would.
So is this something, cause I had asked this question before, R2P2, do they get involved in recreational facilities and all
Yes.
that kind of
Yes,
stuff
they
too?
do.
Because we were just talking about that, to possibly reimagine this big ball field, and when all these trailers are gone, and can R2P2 give us some visions on what this could all be as well?
Most definitely. And I can tell you, Andy and I and the mayor went up to a tourism conference up in Tampa. And one of the days was going on the Hillsborough River. And you go where Eulalie Restaurant is, and they had an old water plant next to that where they made into
Downtown.
all those little restaurants. They had this huge multi-purpose field, and in our plans with DRMP, it's called a multi-purpose field, it's not called a softball field. So if we stick to the original plan that it was a multi-purpose field, and instead of having the band shelter where the rec building was, put it on the base side, all of a sudden now, just like in Tampa, you have this beautiful open space for soccer, field hockey, softball, dogs playing frisbee, people having picnics, and a concert venue in the back. And that's kind of, we got pictures, we haven't had time to really digest all that and put it into place, but as soon as Andy and I do, and get with Jeff, you'll be the first ones to see
That
it.
sounds awesome.
That's
Yeah.
But it's,
good.
it's true to the
You
original
bet.
concept that you all looked at
Yeah.
under the DRMP.
Right.
We'd still have the retaining areas, we'd still have the restrooms, but there's ways to re-envision those retaining ponds too. Because up at that site, they had freshwater ponds, you didn't know it was a pond. You walk over a little footbridge and they have the Hillsborough River, which is brackish on one side, And over here, they had tilapia, cichlids, turtles, in a beautiful little area. Well, it was a retention pond, but it was also fed like a regular pond would be, a circulative pond.
So more ecologically sound.
Yeah.
Right, but underneath the footbridge, which you didn't realize, was a hard and fast dam, and it separated the two structures. But it was
Fantastic.
just visually appealing, it was visually for everybody, kids looking at the turtles, you know, those type of things. And it's a way to catch the water like we're supposed to with our plan, and still facilitate the original outline for DMP that they suggested to you.
Good.
Ricky, can I just go back to the original question
Yeah.
that we were talking about? So the existing pool that's there,
Mhm.
we can't change the hole in the ground, for lack of a better term, can't change. In other words, we can't make the lap pool bigger. Sounds like with the kiddie pool, you could possibly do some
Right, the
different things,
kiddie,
but
the kiddie pool was considered just that, it's just a wading pool. And if it was a foot deeper, then that would have changed the dynamic on that. HUD has very strict guidelines on how they classify things. The fact that they even took a rec project like this under consideration was amazing.
stretch.
The fact that we scored in the top 10 was even more amazing.
Wow.
So, out of 200 and something projects that were submitted, we were the only ones that had a pool project. People had, emergency management centers, people had fire stations, police stations. So,
Life and death
we
situations.
come through with a
I
pool.
mean,
Not-
what's
not
more
too-
important than a pool? Not a fire station,
We
right?
knew going in, looking at some of these projects, again, I think I told you at the meeting last time, these were projects that we knew we couldn't get funding other places, or it would really be difficult over many periods of years. So this was not our only chance, but a way to kind of group things. So the minimum ask on all these projects was $5 million into the program. So how do you make a pool that you know that all day long, you could make it state-of-the-art for $4 million? How do you add another $1 million on? You know, we're trying to be fiscally responsible. And through process of moving things around a little bit, we do have leeway. We do have leeway to sway and move. I honestly don't know those questions. That would be more for a contractor.
okay.
But the original guidelines is, because they see it was written off as being sound and safe, it's sound and safe and stays there. Everything else around it can change.
When does this grant expire? Does it have an expiration?
It really doesn't.
Okay.
And you can actually add funds after your initial project is deemed complete.
Mhm.
So it kind of can go on in perpetuity.
Okay.
So it's not going to expire, though. This is not really a grant. They call it a grant.
That's just
Um,
one of the caveats we've had is that, oh, now it's expired and we can't do anything with it.
No,
We
not
want.
like other grants. So
Okay.
this is a grant. Normally, what you do is you would spend that $4 million. They'd give you the $4 million back, reimbursable.
Okay.
Because the town and Sanibel are in unique situations on how we were impacted, the county has agreed to give us those funds up front. So that's a MOU that we're working through now. That's what's going to probably delay the transfer of funds, just because we have to have all that legal documentation done. Not only between us, but then between the county and the federal government as well.
So in essence, this $13 million more than compensates for the loss of the $10 million grant that we couldn't use because we ran out of time. For that was Times Square and the park and Newton Park.
The
and
loan that
Bayside.
you had taken out.
Remember
Yes,
that?
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
and so we
So,
lost that.
Right,
but this is-
originally, I think we had talked to John early on, we had plans to get this thing moving with that. The problem
10
with that
million, that's
was
right.
that you had to have receipts and shovels in the ground by an end date.
Right.
There was no feasible way that we could
Well,
have
we
done
had a
it.
Yeah, we
hurricane in
do
the
it.
meantime,
We had a
so-
plan,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
then we figured out because of the type of grant that we needed to go out for RFP, we couldn't just do a piggyback or the 3 quote. We needed 3 hard quotes or an RFP process.
Well, I just think this was a brilliant, creative solution on your part, and you and your staff, and
Yeah.
of course Jeff, to
Jeff's
be
the
able to
guy.
get this funding to begin
Yeah.
with, that is miraculous.
You
Thank
bet.
you.
Yeah, I mean, we had been waiting. I mean, you guys know. We always said, "Where's the money? Who's got the money?
Yeah.
Where are we gonna get the money? As
And-
long as we
and-
get the money, we're
Yeah.
gonna start it, and we're gonna start it."
And
so.
even at our last meeting, when I kind of alluded to that,
I
we
know.
really can't
Yeah.
count your chickens till they hatch, right? And, well, they hatched.
Yeah.
And we got instead of the 15 because of the FEMA money that we're getting for these projects. FEMA deems your pool at $170,000. That's
Yeah.
what they value
cute.
it as. So,
That's a nice filter tank.
exactly, exactly.
Not-
Yeah.
Barely,
And
still on the
thank God we
barely
didn't have all
still on
that
the
new
truck.
pool equipment in
So,
before the hurricane.
knowing that going in, and that kind of also stopped our process with going with that park loan that was originally taken out. The fact that we were using FEMA funds, or we were getting FEMA funds, even if you got $100 from FEMA, you can't refuse it, because once you refuse that, then you're refusing everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
And this isn't money that the government's giving us, this is money that the town's already spent and we're just asking to be
It's
reimbursed for.
reimbursed.
You bet.
So, you know, I can't leave $170,000 on the table.
Nope.
Because that 170,000 parlays into another 200,000 over here, and by the end of the day, we have
It's
over,
gone.
you know, $18 million that we dished out at the town over a course of a year and a half after a disaster. We need to get that money back.
Sure.
So this program gets us our money back with no strings attached. However, it's a government project, so you follow that government trail. You have to jump through those hoops. And I think it's a sacrifice
That's
worth
great.
taking.
Oh,
At
my
the end
goodness.
result, you'll have a legacy pool out here in this community, not only for the community, but people that can come from outside and use that area. And our North Water Tower, to me, that was
That's huge.
just as huge because I've got 2 on the island and only one's working. So,
Oh.
you know, that was down
Right.
before Ian. That hasn't worked since Ian.
Oh, my.
So if something catastrophically would happen in the line or something, we'd all be saying, hey, Culligan man. So that was the
Whoa.
precursor of that.
That's
That
huge
item got
priority.
number 2 on the list of 239. So that they saw the relevance in that and needed that. But there again, we're not just putting up a water tower. We're putting up a water tower with a facade so it blends into all the other homes on Lagoon. So neighbors don't say, oh my God, would you put,
A
it'll
big water
seamlessly
tower.
integrate.
Yeah.
The only thing that'll give it away is that 6-foot fence with barbed wire on top. But other than that, you know, it'll seamlessly fit into
It'll
the
be like a
neighborhood.
prison home.
Yeah. But, and then Newton Park.
Work release.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're crazy.
Newton Park was the big one, okay? You're never gonna replace a historical place. We know that.
Oh, yeah.
And we've talked at nauseum, just Jeff and I and Andy, and just having internal discussions. This gives us at least a foot in the door. We can get something started, we can get back even better than we were without the building, I get that.
Sure.
But now you've got money, right? Money is the whole thing.
You
Yeah.
bet.
With
5
money,
million.
with
You
money,
bet.
you can pretty much do anything if you do it right. You know, and again, that can be a legacy park moving forward. So that's still on paper. We gotta get from paper to ground. But at least we got this kind of paper.
Any,
We
any,
have a- we have a crayon
any
drawing.
hope for Strand View?
I think that's a little out of our reach. to be
It
honest with
is,
you.
okay,
And-
just
and
thought
there's
I'd
really-
ask.
There's really no state agencies that would
No.
front you that kind of money.
Okay.
And the problem with
Too
that is that
expensive.
they will only pay like the land trust. They'll only pay what the market, what the land is worth. They won't pay market value.
Because they were asking 17 million.
And I
believe.
don't know what the actual worth of the property is.
Right.
So if the worth of the property, let's just say at 8 million,
Yeah.
they would never sell it for 8 million.
No.
You know what I mean? Nor would the land trust have that much money to give out.
Oh,
They usually have
maybe a-
20 million for the entire state, right?
Correct.
We
Yes,
looked into
yes,
that.
that's what they said.
20
So-
million for the entire state, and we're asking them to pony up 16, it
Again,
doesn't.
if someone wants to give us a park,
yeah,
I think we take it.
I'll definitely take it.
So,
it'd be
More
wonderful.
park
But,
at,
and they
yeah,
would even, they
pocket
could even have
parks.
some input on what goes in there.
But if anything else, you know that Jeff and I are not afraid to knock on any door.
Good.
We'll sell cookies out there, we'll do whatever it takes.
We appreciate
So,
that.
We're
With a-
here.
with
for
a
the long
permit.
haul. With a permit. We're
Yeah,
here for the
you
long
bet.
haul.
Good luck.
but,
Permit.
There's a lot more money coming our way, I can guarantee you
Fantastic.
that.
Okay,
But it's just a game,
good.
and we're getting pretty good at the game, so.
You
Yeah.
are.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Thanks
Thank
for letting
you.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for running through.
Brilliant, yeah, walk through
That'll
it.
teach you.
Barbara,
won't.
can I just ask a question off topic? Are you in that 1:30?
Yes, and I have to leave.
Okay, so,
I told Betty that I
Yeah.
would leave at 1:15.
Okay, so we have about-
So
yeah.
I'm watching, I
yeah, we have
know.
about 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to rush everyone, but we have
Nope.
we have the MAPS program for, the
Well, should
museum
we-
accreditation program.
Should we get to the
Right.
next meeting? Kind
Yeah.
of thing, there's no public or anything, so we kind of know where we are with the pool.
Yeah.
So,
So I guess just to clarify, we don't have a conceptual plan of the pool.
Yeah.
That's why I keep saying we don't have a conceptual plan of the pool.
Right.
But there
I
was
have
some
not seen
bids
one.
made.
Huh?
There was some bids made.
Bids?
no, there was a
So-
line item made.
We had people that came in originally when we had a plan that we had this.
I mean, you
park
told
fund
us
money.
that, so one bid was 5 million and the other bid was,
Those were from
less
3
than
years
that.
ago.
oh, those were.
No, those were right after the storm,
Oh, right
We were
after
gonna
the
use the
storm
park
to bring it
funding,
back. Yeah,
but
right.
we found out because of federal guidelines that we couldn't just use
Still
the
2
3
years ago.
quotes. We wouldn't have had time to do it, so
Right.
that's why we had to scrap that. And that would have paid for, more of the ball field, that would paid for the building
Right.
out here.
So anyway,
we-
whatever
did we
plans
decide?
whatever plans were submitted there in that
They gave
those
us
are
just
out.
cost estimates,
Okay.
is what
There
they
was no
did.
plan.
Yeah,
There
no
was
plans.
okay.
Just like, we put the pool, get a new pool right where it is, if we just maybe expand it a little bit, they just give us costs on the equipment, on what it'd take to build new locker rooms. They never gave us a drawing or anything, so.
Okay.
those were just, cost placements.
Right. So October 16th is a Wednesday. October 9th, we have a reschedule of M&P meeting, so I couldn't make anything on the 9th. But the 16th,
Don't
we
we have
need-
a set, meeting every month for X?
I
Do we
thought we
have
were
to
like,
meet?
No, it was always the first Wednesday, and then we changed it, and we didn't. This year, it's been kind of wonky.
yeah,
I
so
thought we were doing a different,
most,
It's like
Okay,
we
that's
change it
okay.
every month. I don't know.
no, most recently it's been the third Wednesday.
third one, that's what I was
mean, I'm
thinking
sorry if
too.
we can consistently make it the third.
Thought we
It's
talked
easy.
about
The third
So the
Wednesday.
third Wednesday would be October 16th.
Yeah,
Do we need to meet in October?
I think if we're gonna start talking about all this stuff too, at least November. I don't know, but I mean, we need to at least start talking about. They can't come to us in February and be like, all right, now we have to make a decision by next month. You know, we
Yeah.
have to have
Yeah.
some ideas out there.
I think we need to start documenting a wish list
Right.
Yeah.
to give it to them when they start talking about it.
and I'll see if I can get
John, you're
something
gonna have to
from
come
Frankie
prepared.
about
I'll
this.
email it right after the meeting.
What- Well, no, and I'll.
All right, so October's not
It's
necessary
deeper than
then.
the
Yeah.
pool, so.
I mean, I guess, I'll find out what costs we associated to that
Okay.
4 or 5 million.
Oh, John
and
can.
if it's broken down
spin that.
into specifics, like how much for the accessories, how much for the actual pool,
Okay.
how much for the equipment. I mean, that'll give us a guideline if we have a whole lot of wiggle room as far as amenities,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's pretty set, like Frankie said. Not set, but more set than our wish list, I should say.
But we can at least figure out, like, I mean, do we do little details? Like, what do we need in the locker rooms and things like that? Is that stuff that we talk about, or
You're fine.
how does that work?
Yeah, those accessories are. Barbara, is it on Teams? Barbara, is it on Teams? Is it a Teams meeting?
The map, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. So
I'll log-
1:30 to 3 at the
I'll log
Mountain.
in.
It's a Mount House.
Are we
Oh,
good
I
on the
thought it was
16th?
online.
No, it's at the Mount House.
Oh, it says,
So you're leaving too, right?
yeah, that's why I said we.
Yeah.
Okay, so Wednesday, October 16th,
At
our next
noon.
meeting at noon.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay,
Uh, motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
okay.
I'll second that.
Aye.
Motion by Ed,
We had to get the meeting done
all in
before you-
favor indicate by saying aye.
Didn't
Aye.
have to do that.
Okay.
Go on.